G'day and welcome to Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by the Astropub, and it's Drake Day, so that's Talk Like a Pirate Day. Arrgh, I be coming for your booty. Yeah, I practice that in the mirror, you can tell. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. Paul, you seem to be the bogan today, or the ruffian, or the hobo.
Yeah.
I don't know what word. I had a shave. Yeah. I picked the worst day to have a shave.
Yeah. Listen, I said I was going to go for the look. Every time this Drake Day comes by, even when it comes to the tour, I put on my Drake attire. I've got my Drake shirt. I've got my leather jacket. I've got my Drake hat because I'm going to be the guy who, you know how everyone thinks you dress in like Australia and stuff like that. You don't actually dress like that. It's like when you want to be the guy that everyone says, "Oh, you're Australian." Good day, mate. You know, kind of stuff.
This is my around the house tire. I actually look more like a biker when I go outside. Like I put on a big leather jacket, and you've seen my glasses, right? So I wear those glasses and go out, and people don't want to talk to me. That's why I wear the leather jacket, because then no one talks to me. But yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll have to, maybe at Origin Day I'll have to dress up like you or Algrid and have like a monocle and top hat or something. I need to get you guys back somehow. I'll figure something out. You know me. Right, let's cut this across and get into it. So, the Buccaneer.
And so first off, it's a fighter.
Yeah, it's a fighter. Yeah, don't buy it. But I love it though.
It is really good in master modes. It is fantastic in master modes.
Yeah, it is. It's having that renaissance it's deserved for a long time. I like the way, like when it first came out, I used to go out and just take it out on flights because it was just something I really liked about it. But at the time, and it's the same thing now, you put it next to the Cutlass and you can't. It's like it's the same price. It's like you can't justify its existence. And I think a lot of that came from that they wanted people to jump off the Cutlass to this at the time because of people wanted a more combative vehicle. But I'm going to be honest with you, at this price, I feel that this should be less than the Arrow.
Yeah,
you know, so
it's a fine price, but like it's one of those. It falls into that buy it in game sort of thing.
100%.
It's such a weird price where if you drop the price at any more than this, then it becomes way underpriced, and if you increase the price, it becomes way over. It's like at that sweet spot where it's exactly the price you should pay for it, but it's not worth $110.
No,
it's not a good deal.
I disagree on that because you've got the Arrow and the Gladius, right? And the Gladius is only just like
$90.
Yeah, $90. So it's too expensive, and it's not as good as the Gladius. You see, so that's why I think it should be lower.
It has more guns, and it has it kind of bridges that between a light fighter and a medium fighter because it's a medium interceptor. So it's not quite as good as the Gladius, but you can easily outfight a Hornet if you're smart.
Yeah.
And it has more punching power than it. So it's like if you like a Gladius, but you felt like you're tickling your enemies too much rather than hitting them. Yeah. So like that's why I'm like, the price is all right, but at that price, it's just not worth it. It's like if you drop this $10, it'd be it would be perfect, but it'd also be too cheap.
I think that's the thing about Drake ships across the board. They just feel different to other ships. And whether you like it or hate it, they're definitely a different flight experience. And it was something I had to kind of force into our grid. Like, well, if we go into the very next one, the Caterpillar, I had to force our grid to kind of fly this. And once he flew it, he actually flies it more regularly now because it's just something completely different about, and the Ironclad will be no different, the new one. Sitting at the back and off to one side is just so different to anything else.
Feels like you're flying a barge. It's like it's less of a ship and more of a slightly maneuverable plank of wood that you're moving through space.
Well, this is
great.
I'd have to remember my pricing, but I think this is roughly going up almost $100. I think it was $245, and it's now then it went to $275, and then it went to $330, or $300, and then $330. So it's had multiple price increases over the years. But my eternal question, and they kind of don't want to talk about it, is what are the modules going to be? All this time, after the Ironclad dropping, I've got more questions about this than ever. Yeah, I think you're no different, in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the boat of like, I don't know if it's going to be if it's going to be worth the, like, I don't know if we're actually going to see see it like as it is. It's just like, I don't know if we'll see any modules, but that's a completely different conversation. But I agree.
Well, let me put it this way: at $400 for an Ironclad, it's now $70, and you get double the ship.
Yeah,
and you get double the it's almost triple the cargo. Right, so if you wanted just this cargo variant, this version is no longer worth it, right? No. But the modules, that changes everything. And here's the crazy thing. You think about the prices of some of those modules. If you buy a modular set or like even one version of this, right, it's more than likely going to be more than the price of the freaking Ironclad.
The Ironclad.
And that's why this now becomes just a weird, awkward conversation.
Yes. And that's the thing. It's like it comes down to what will it have in terms of module, to make it valuable. And
the only thing we have to go by is these. I think they did 2 or 3 videos, and the last one was like in 2017. So it's been
2016, 2017.
Yeah. And me and Algra did a ship scrutiny on this, and it, we go back over the fine-tooth comb, and they basically worked it out to be roughly 11 modules they talked about at the time, and some of those have gone to the Galaxy. That's how we know that they've taken some of them, given the Galaxy, one of them being the medical module. So you could assume this isn't getting a medical module now, but I think, again, if you look back into Drake... Now, you tell me if you think I'm wrong here, Paul, on anyone, right? So besides the cargo module, the 2 that I would gamble on is something to do with salvage and possibly hacking. They're the only 2 I'd feel comfortable with. And then obviously we heard about the search and rescue cannon. Cannon.
Shoot a person out at another.
Well, it seems cool as hell, though. Like, I would love that, you know?
Yeah. There's so many things you could do with it. I've talked about the idea of swapping out 2 for some sort of like brace where you still keep like the area between the 2, but it extends out with 2 like Buccaneer sized landing pads.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the Kraken.
Yeah, I actually
so many things you could do with it, but the refuel variant. I even think a medical variant is possible because we still have the red. So like the Cutlass Red, anything that Drake already does, I think you could easily.
So a few of the others they mentioned in the video was like an armory, one that basically allowed for troops. So you could add an armory one and an extra troop one, and then so it becomes like a troop carrier. The search and rescue one, I mentioned the chop shop, I mentioned the hacking one, and they mentioned they had 11. And they mentioned a medical one, but they even had one at one point which was like an interconnected one that allowed it to be like a docking collar for all the others. I think that one's gone now, to be honest, because we don't do docking like that anymore. But 11, I can't even remotely get to 11. So there's obviously some that we just don't know of what they were. But yeah, I don't know. It's still one of the biggest mysteries of this game to me, because what that can do can completely open this ship or kill it.
Yeah. I do think we'll learn more about this IAE, and I think if we don't learn about this IAE, I wouldn't. If CIG doesn't start talking about modules for the Caterpillar, now that modularization is in for Alliator, and we know that likely pretty soon we're going to see swappable stuff. If they move directly onto the Galaxy and just don't start talking about modules for things. This or the Carrack, I wouldn't.
I noticed something the other day. His name is John Crew, and he's the leader of the ship team, so it's called John's Crew. Anyone that's on John's Crew, and I get my hands on them, that is my number 1 question that I want to know at CitizenCon. I am going to be trying to find out, like, when not what they are, but when are you going to tell us about them? That's what I want to know. That's my, like...
Is it still planned to be modular? You know, that's my question.
Yeah.
Because that's the real big question at this point, because when we get into things like the Hornet being retired, for the Mark 1 being retired, and one of my fears is that what CIG is going to do is for the older ship, the 2016 ship, they're just, because they're so spaghetti code that they just get it to gold standard and then just release a new version or release a separate ship that does what it did before.
That's kind of what Algrid brought up. It goes, isn't this Ironclad what you were talking about they could do with the Caterpillar, where the whole front end changes? Because you imagine if they all of a sudden just went, everyone that owns a Caterpillar, you get a free upgrade to the Ironclad. And by the way, here are a couple of more variants of the Ironclad.
It won't do that. Like they want you to spend more money.
Yeah, I know, but again, I could see that. Like this thing turns again, and the modules all just disappear. I don't know.
It really depends on CIG's personality, because I still don't know why the Mark I was retired, and my most cynical brain goes, part of my brain goes, because they want to get rid of all of the old ships and just push them out so they don't have to worry about them because they're boring to work on.
I just think they made the Mark II for Squadron. It's a Squadron thing.
They did.
Yeah. Yeah. And rather than have to maintain an old ship, it was easier to kind of make most of the masses not have access to it. So you got to remember, there's us now, and then everyone that comes after when the game releases. So yeah, right. The Corsair, man,
best ship in the game.
Yeah, it is right now. That's for sure.
I'm gonna fight anyone who says otherwise, because it can hold a NERSA, so it can get medical and respawn now. It has great coverage in terms of crew quarters. It has the pilot has control of like 6 size 4s or 5s. I can't remember exactly what it has, but because they've changed the size down for things. It is so good. It is my favorite ship. It is the best ship in the game. I
think the only negative I can give about it is it flies like a pizza box with the wings up, but then again, you get to name your ships after pizza flavors. I like my Hawaiian. That is just... look, it is a great ship. I did have
a Maui special,
barbecue meat lovers. But like, because it kills people and then barbecues them, and then you love the meat. Yeah, it all works out, right? Look, I had a Redeemer and a Connie, so I ended up getting rid of mine because I had those two, and I think that if you have all those series of ships. But if this is the only kind of ship you own up in that kind of daily driver area, 100%. But I just had a problem with the wings. But I might end up grabbing one back up, because the thing where I think this is going to excel, now you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, is atmospheric flight. I think this will even beat the Connie, because that's just got those little fan things. But these massive wings, I think this thing could just glide in atmosphere.
Yeah, and CIG's not going for 100% realism when it comes to the flight model, so we're almost certainly going to see anything with wings become better and atmosphere. So yeah, it is the ship that everyone is going to want to get, because it's cheaper than the Connie. It does everything the Connie does, and it also has atmospheric wings. So it'll have its downsides and its sides, and won't be good for everything, but it's a good tool for anybody who wants to do solo, and then with some extra multi-crew become...
Your voice is dropping out just a little bit, so you're aware.
All right, I just gotta get a little closer so I'm not...
Yep.
I'm dropping out.
Cutlass Black. God, how do you say anything bad about this ship? It's probably the best all-round ship in the game. I know you just called the Corsair the best ship, but I think we would say this is the best. This was the best ship in the game for the longest time. There wasn't anything you couldn't do, and I think only now, as the different cargo boxes are coming in, are we start seeing a shift from, say, something like that more towards the Corsair or something like that. And we now have the Spirit as well, so we're getting a bit more, and Zeus is about to come out too, so yeah.
It's still the best value medium ship on the market. Like, in terms of getting it in game, it's super easy to get. You can rent them pretty easily, and the price is the exact price you'd want for this. Like, you get the $45 package and you upgrade it to a Cutlass Black. You can literally do everything in the game. It is the do everything ship that everyone wants. Just works. Just does what you want it to do.
Yeah, it was a gateway ship for a really long time. Like, almost everyone went through it because it was this or the Freelancer, and the Freelancer's just been in the worst. That's why they brought out the Spirit, I think, because they needed something to compete. Now with
I do think. I think when Pyro comes out, the Cutlass is going to start showing its shortfall, and the Freelancer will start showing how improved it is compared to other ships. But because the Freelancer is so old, it's just not up to the same standards, because they rebuilt the Cutlass from the ground up in 2016, and it shows.
It's
just a better ship.
The Freelancer is getting a rework though, at the moment, I believe. So well, they said so about after Squadron came out, because essentially it and the Connie need it real bad. So Cutlass Blue and Cutlass Red, we can check these in here too. Bounty Hunter variant. This is where it gets non-value wise because there's a massive price jump. This is essentially a better hull, wee sirens, and you lose a lot of the cargo at the moment because of the bounty hunter modules. So at the moment, you're actually better to have this and maybe have a CC to this for the future. And I think
especially your bounty hunter.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people when Bounty Hunter come out aren't even going to get this. They're going to go straight to the Marky Mark. They're going to go straight past this to that because it's 3 people, guns, and it's just got a bit more things that fit into the bounty hunting role. Where this is, I'm sorry to say, it's a glorified cargo ship with some extras. Where there's just
it's going to be cheaper. It's probably going to be easier to maintain.
True.
Parts.
Definitely compared to RSI. RSI is way up there in the pricing, like it's just behind Origin. So
and that's one of the things I think people need to, especially if you're talking about long term for these sorts of things, start looking into what wear and tear is going to be, because wear and tear on ships is going to start mattering a lot.
And
4.0,
and it also access, right? So the cheaper and okay, let's say, because the joke is always that these are held together with duct tape because they're Drake, right? But they break more frequently, so the parts are going to be sitting around more readily. Where if you're in an Origin or an RSI, they might have to be. They not only are they more expensive, but they have to take longer to get where they might not be as readily available as well. So pros and cons. Well, again,
as the game advances. There'll be some factors that we don't really have right. But still, like, I think general, you're right. Price is way too high.
Again, with the Zeus as well, you're in a combat ship there. See, so you will be taking hits. So that could be derogatory towards that as well. So these are things that you have to balance out as time goes by that we haven't seen the consequences yet. Cuddy Red, Renaissance. Did you see Space Tomato's thumbnail? Like he was like a super awkward face on it. It's great. Yeah. Because he's talking about medical. Anyway, this thing has just gone from like 0 to hero, almost essentially overnight with the stuff that come in. You can fit an STV in the back as well at the moment, so you could. This is the perfect. This is actually even better than the Pisces now, technically on medical runs, because you can do 2 people
twice.
You can do a vehicle. You can't do a vehicle on the Pisces C8R because it's too small. I guess you could do a Pulse now, but with those doors, it's going to make it a little weird. But I guess you could if you had to.
And all the guns are pilot controlled, so like you can swap out the guns for it's still a Cuddy, so you can still put them big guns on it, so it's not as pea shooter. So,
Right. We won't talk. No. This is the ship that everyone loves to hate.
I always say it's the most Drake ship ever, and CIG screwed by the price, and they straight up prowlered it. If you look in game, the Steel, even after all the price changes, is cheaper than the Black in game. But it's over twice the amount, say the cost of it outside. It makes no sense. It is still overcosted.
It's really hard to kill though in game. It really is hard to kill.
They buffed up the HP of it significantly, and even when it was even the weaker, slower of the classes, it still was incredibly reliable. I've used it for like large group organization operations in hostile AI areas for months, and it's done exactly what you asked it to do. It is very good. It's not $235 good.
So it's in game, 100% grab it, right? But out of game, 2 times the price of the original Cutlass Black, and you can get a Drake no, well, not now. It's gone up $10. But for a while, it was you could literally get a Dragonfly as well. But now it's essentially 2 times the price of a Cutlass Black, and it's just and it broke the convention.
People.
And it broke the convention of the names, which really shit me. I'm a stickler for things like that, but
it's a super specialized ship that doesn't give you a lot of options, and it's a required multi-crew vehicle. It is super expensive.
All right. I'm gonna chuck these 3 cutters together. I think
Rambler's the best.
Shut the hell up. I can't stand the Rambler. The Rambler is garbage. Doesn't do anything. It's useless. I think the Cutter is where it's at, and I think the Scout will have a renaissance once Scanner comes in. But you seriously, all right, you tell me why you think the Rambler is best, because I think it's a piece of junk.
Up until very recently, the Rambler was going to be the best idea because the Rambler has a full like habitation module area, so you can like live out of it, and it has better like range. So if you're just like as a starter player wanting to explore a lot, this is the best starter.
From an exploration, from an exploration, okay, I'll give you that.
And I think explorers in general, when you're doing exploration, is the best starter vehicles for most players. Because most players don't know what they want to do. So if you have something that can just take you very, very long distances and support you on that journey, you're solid. That's why the Cutlass Black is so good. It's got incredibly good range for fuel. It supports multiple gameplay approaches. The only difference between the Rambler and the regular Cutter is that the regular Cutter cargo.
You're breaking up again.
I'm leaning back too far. That's why.
Pull your mic up to you, maybe instead.
Yeah. I don't like it seeing all the stuff.
It's fine.
But so the Cutter, the difference between this and the Cutter is the Cutter gives you cargo space. That's it. And the cargo space, the cargo space is nice, but it's not required for all the new players. So I still think the Rambler is a better opportunity, better offer for newer players who just starting out. But if you're just like, hey, I want to do cargo, the straight Cutter is still the best starter straight cargo.
Yeah,
it's better than even the
I'll give you the exploration part because that is true. It definitely for new players, I can see that. But I think that's the better generalist. I would almost see a lot of people grabbing this up as an A to B vehicle as well. For more advanced players.
If you I was gonna say if you with a Rambler, if you want to have a place that can take you between systems cheaply, it's gonna be the Ram.
Yeah.
But if you have like a fighter, but if I agree, the Scout is definitely gonna have like a renaissance.
It's weird though because it's one of the few ships they've put into the game that doesn't essentially have its gameplay, and they said they don't want to do that anymore. So this has broken their rule. But
they broke the rule instantly when they had that, because remember they said that rule and then within weeks they released the raft, which didn't have the gameplay functionality with it, and it was like it still really doesn't. I think even until 3.23.1 it's still broke. It's still broken.
Hopefully we get it after. Well, the cargo's essentially they were planning to release the cargo at the end of the year, and it's been delayed and delayed and delayed. It's almost 2.5 years later. So hopefully when it comes out they'll go back and do the Sky Crane part. So right, the Dragonfly, still
ground vehicle.
Don't buy a ground vehicle, but I still think it's the most. It's kind of like the Ursa, but of the bikes, right? It's still the best all-rounder of the vehicles, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Of the hover vehicles, it's probably the best. Next to maybe like the Cyclone or the Ursa. It's part of that original release of ground vehicles, and when CIG was just trying to find something that was good for everybody, the Ursa, the Cyclone, the Dragonfly, these are all just like, they'll do exactly what you want them to do, and they've got a lot of flexibility for them.
I still want the original concept of the Dragonfly, which was an Iron Man suit. Do you remember? I remember. I want that.
The original Dragonfly, for those of you who don't know, was basically a lawn chair strapped to rockets, because it was supposed to be a starter. It was supposed to be a starter ship.
Yeah,
that was the original idea.
Yeah, and it morphed to this, but it does technically fold up a little bit too, but we haven't really seen that yet. Like it gets shorter and stuff, but we haven't seen that really in game yet. Right, the Herald. Oh man, this used to be asymmetric, and I was totally in love with it. It is the start of. It's technically the cheapest profession starter, I think you could call it. And it does 2 people, which is really interesting for its price. It's not talked about enough from a 2-player perspective. And also in racing, it is the fastest ship in a straight line. So this ship weirdly offers a lot in a very small package compared to other ships. But it just doesn't have its gameplay. But again, renaissances as all these gameplays start to come online. I can't not unrecommend it because it's just so much cheap. Like the Prospector, I think, is like the next one, or the Cutty Red at 135. So it's quite a.
It's so cheap.
Yeah.
For what it does.
Yeah.
It's the best profession starter.
Yeah. For price. Yeah.
The problem you get with it is it's literally a profession. Yep. It is a info runner. It is the thing you're going to do for courier missions, for info running, or for broadcasting. But
it's like an MSR. It's like an MSR without the cargo bay, because essentially your cargo is just data, but it doesn't carry any. It's got 2 beds and the 2 crew, and that's it. And it's real basic, real stripped back. But that's kind of what you want for this. Like, it's just grab and go. Your whole cargo is data, and it is sublimely perfectly built for that. But that's all it does. So it's just straight to the point.
It's either with Drake ships, they're either absolutely utilitarian to a T, or if they have a single purpose, they do exactly what it says in the tin, nothing more, nothing less, and it's very cheap for you to do it. The problem is as we haven't pointed out yet, is none of these ships have escape pods or ejection seats. So you either are good or dead. And with Death of a Spaceman, that's going to hurt a lot more in the coming days. So
I think almost every ship we've gone past perception of the Corsair, I'd say buy in game at the moment. Yeah. So yeah. Right, we're getting to the bigger ones. So we're into the Ironclad and the Ironclad Salt. They kind of surprised me. Why are those prices?
Yeah, the price. So that's because this isn't the War Bond. The War Bond is $50 cheaper for both of them, I believe. So
they kind of ended up roughly where I thought. Well, close. Initially I said 500. Then my thoughts over the day, they went up in price, and then over the night they came down again. So I was around about $500. So ironically, I'm kind of in between the 2 variants. So yeah. We're going to go into these in more detail in our buyer's guide when we've got some time to sit down and look at them. But yeah, they are very interesting to say the least, especially at that price point. Well, I said $70 the Caterpillar. I've now realized I'm out by $50, but still, it's very interesting to see where they've landed.
Yeah. Is there anything? Well, it's also important. It's also important to note that this is the first time it's being sold. The next time, the way that they've talked about this, it sounds like the Ironclad is they're doing the Galaxy next and the Perseus, and then it's going to be the Iron. So like those are the 3 ships they're doing in terms of larger ships. I
don't know if it is going to be the Ironclad yet, because at the end of last year they said they're going to move on from the RSI family to another family. You reckon they're going to go back? You reckon they're going to Drake? I actually think it's going to be Anvil, because there's a lot of Anvil ships out there. Well, plus, they would want to go back and do the Ghost and the Tracker and things like, and the Super Hornet, which they haven't done because they weren't required for Squadron.
They're doing that. They are going to do that. But those are smaller ships. So in terms of the big family stuff, they said specifically in the IC that the
they did
was they said specifically that the Ironclad was the prerequisite for the Kraken. That's what they were doing.
Well, that doesn't. But that doesn't mean they're doing. That just says that they will need to do this to do the Kraken. That doesn't mean they're doing it.
But why would they mention that? You think about it, like
sell
what
more?
Else do they have? Somewhat, it's true. But like what else do they have in terms of large ships? They have the Nautilus, and that's really it. Other than the Galaxy and the Perseus and the Arastra and the Orion, which is the one they want to focus on. I think they'll do the Galaxy, the Perseus, then the Ironclad, then the Arastra, then the Orion, and then the.
Okay,
and that's the order that they.
And then hopefully the Orion not far after that. I think the last thing I'll say on these 2 though is this is technically a capital. It's got capital components, so it is
capital components.
It is that Drake Corvette that we heard. John
it's very small. It's 120 meters, so
it's almost identical to the Liberator though, even in length. If you look at these, so if I flick over real quickly, they've got these images of it on the pad, right? So if you're in your own time, go find the one of the Liberator on the pad, and those lines on the ground, they're almost in exactly the same place. So yeah, you can line it up almost identical. Right.
So we're going to do a bigger, deeper dive on that.
Yeah.
We just want to talk a little bit about the price, and because it's hard for us to talk about it until we really get to that.
Well, these videos are already 40 minutes long. If we added that, it'd be another 40 minutes long. So we cut off into its own. Right. The Kraken and the Kraken Privateer. God, $2,000. Is it really that much?
Jesus.
Right. Look, the Kraken for me is like, if I wanted look, I got one, right? So I'm a bit biased, right? But if I had to pick between this, the Idris, and the Javelin, this is the one I pick, because it's not as combat focused as the other two, and that's why I got it. So I'm gonna step back a bit and let you talk about it, Paul, because I'm biased, I think. But yeah.
Yes, let the guy in the Drake hat, who's totally not biased. So effectively, the Kraken is the best capital class ship in the game. The reason why it's the best capital class ship in the game is because it's so Drake. It is so utilitarian. It's so it's its same job. The Idris is great, but it's only great if you want to shoot things. The Polaris is great if you like to shoot things. The Galaxy is good, but you have to have the right module and all these sorts of things. But with the Caterpillar, if you want to turn it into a salvage vehicle, get a Vulture. You want to turn it into a rescue vehicle, get a Cutlass Red or an Apollo. Like, they can fit on the top deck. It's such a Swiss Army knife. It's the Cutlass of the capital in terms of, like, there's nothing it will not be able to do. It's not going to be perfect at everything.
Yeah.
But you're getting a flying fortress.
It's literally a carrier, isn't it? This is the pocket carrier people talked about for years. That's why I got one. I think with a privateer, this is a lot like the Banner Merchantman, right? You've got 8 shops in the Banner Merchantman, you've got 10 in this. The real big difference between the two for me is this one essentially is like your shopping mall that you go to, and your AI will fly up with their ships to this and land on here, as an example, where the Banner Merchantman kind of goes to them, right? And that's the difference between the two. I'm not proven on this. I do have the upgrade kit to this, but I think I'm going to wait until it comes out and decide whether I turn it into the privateer or keep it as the Kraken. That I'm just keeping my options open. Again, I don't know, maybe when we get closer to that, we can do like an intervention, and you guys can, me, you, and Argrid and Loken and Space can sit down and talk about it. But I don't know, I'm not fully sold on this one, but I'm keeping my options open because, again, I've already got a Banner Merchantman. So do I want this and a Banner Merchantman? You see where I'm going?
I don't see this being fun. I don't see the CIG. This is the Endeavor of ships. I think we're gonna get the Kraken here.
Close to the mic. Close to the mic.
Sorry.
We'll have to work on it. Yeah, we'll have to work on a noise gate. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, I just need a new microphone is what I need.
Well, we'll get onto that as well.
Yeah. So basically there's no reason to have this unless you already have a merchantman, because there's no way this is coming out anytime soon. It's going to be the Endeavor of Drake. Like, we'll have the Kraken before we have the Kraken privateer probably for years, because there's just so much that the privateer is reliant on, specifically the economy.
Yep.
And the economy, it's a flying, like, strip mall.
Yeah.
There needs to be so many other things. Like, you can't rely on just players buying stuff, because then it's just an RP ship, and no one's going to pay $2,000 for an RP ship.
But everything you've mentioned there is also its strength. So yes, you're not going to get it for years, but the ability just to turn up in orbit and essentially deploy your own space station economically can totally change the landscape of an area.
Oh yeah.
And the ability to take a Kraken and turn it into a privateer is absolutely another boon over the Idris and Javelin. Just the flexibility of that alone. And if say you have the Kraken and you want to grind up to the privateer, it's the same. So put it this way: when you look at you're changing the role of the Kraken, right? When you get to the Idris, what are you doing? You're essentially just upgunning it. You go from the P to the K to the M. It's just more guns. It's the same role though. This completely flips what the ship does. And that's why I like the Kraken. It's got 2 different ships. It's more like the Ironclad, where you're going between the 2, right? It makes it modular in a weird sense, and that's why I prefer it. But I'm getting into the things I really like about it. But maybe time to move on.
It's good.
Yeah.
But
right, the Mule. All right. Sorry, you want to say something about the Kraken?
I was gonna say it's just the $2,000 is so high for what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
For it right now, it's just not.
And again, when you put this ship next to other ships, size-wise, it kind of like it feels big, but then you put it next to other things and they're bigger, and you're like, how come this ship's a quarter of the price of this one, and things like that. But yeah, again, it's hard to sometimes work out the value of these things. I could get totally burned on this down the road, but we'll wait and see. Right, the Mule. God, I love racing these for fun, but I just can't see why you'd want a vehicle when you can use a tractor beam. This thing's still got to be proven to me. Your thoughts on that? Like, I just don't quite see why.
The Mule was built for a game that doesn't exist anymore. It was built for one patch that then changed suddenly. Like, I don't know what it's designed to do, especially since they're going to have like hover sleds soon. So it's like, because it's specifically around 1 SCU crates. When we had like for like what 317, the 317 to 318 branch was all we had was size 1 crates.
They have two.
That's what it was built for.
They have 2 of these parked in the Ironclad though, so there's got to be something there that you and I aren't seeing.
I think it's set dressing.
Can it go up to a 32 SCU container or just pick up a 30?
Well, like, no, because we have the same problem with the MPUV. Like the MPUV was envisioned as this loading thing, and they realized, oh no, it can't. So what did they do? They created the MPVUT, so you can actually use it to load things for its original job. This is never going to change. What CIG is going to do is sell you the Drake Mule DS and have a secondary seat which people can use to tractor beam or crane version of the Mule, which we've seen in concept before. That's what it is.
Those little paddles, if they just turn sideways and then you allowed you to pick up a bigger box or something like that, I don't know. Maybe there's something that we just haven't seen yet. And
it needs help. Yeah, it needs help because it's as it stands, it's not a very good vehicle unless it's a very specific sort of like carrying your cargo through a mission set, which doesn't exist yet. It just there's a bunch of stuff.
It almost feels a little bit like an NPC vehicle to drive around in the background while you're in distribution centers and stuff like that, and not for players. Like, it's just set dressing. It's a bit weird. Yeah, and again, at that price point, that's the entire price of an Aurora game package. It's kind of crazy. So yeah. The Vulture. Profession starter salvage. Very unique look. It works really well. The gameplay is kind of in, and it's going to get more as we go along. It's got that hand feel. We still don't have the blasters. It's meant to detonate and blow things apart to actually salvage stuff. There's nothing I can really say bad about it other than I think it's probably priced a little bit too high. I don't know. Your thoughts?
It's priced because of what is it? Hype. It's a marketing hype because Vulture is still the new the new and improved gameplay loop. So it's still a little high, but in game, I don't know. I wouldn't. It's still the best, one of the better profession starters, but.
I'm just thinking of all the other names for other Drake salvage ships, like the Hyena, the Carry-On. Like, what other ships are they going to go? Names they're going to go into for these ships? But yeah, I don't know. I
think the Carry-On is right. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. If you're into salvage, yeah, go for it. But again, when the Reclaimer is only 2.5 times the price, and you get so much more ship, it just makes this hard value pick. Again, generally under $250. I just don't recommend buying them when they're that way. So yeah, and then we're back to the Buccaneer. There is no paints today, because the Invictus is technically over. And then I think not tomorrow, but the next day we will have the finale, and I believe you and Loken are joining me for that. We're also going to get Lemming to come in, who does a lot of the CCU stuff now while I'm busy. So we've got him a mic, and he's going to jump in and go through that with us as well. So we'll have all 4 of us there doing the buyer's guide, and we'll try and get the chain going, because that's obviously when the best time to do the chains are. And Lemming will just depress us all by telling us about the cool ones we missed as well. Trying to think of anything else we're going to go over. But yeah, I think that's kind of been Drake Day. Is there anything you kind of want to add, or anything you want to hear in the comments, Paul?
I'd love to hear your thoughts on where the future, because they've got so many ships that are already done. It's obvious that they want to do more. Maybe your thoughts on the Ironside. I want to know what you think the Ironside is is going to be useful for you.
Ironside or Ironclad? I think you mean Ironclad.
Ironclad. Ironclad. I've been calling it the Ironsides because the Ironclad is a stupid name. It should have been called the Drake Galleon.
I think it's to keep things ironclad and safe. I think they're playing into that safe room mentality.
Yeah, it's marketing.
And I want to know now. Paul has shown his true self in this clothing. Is he the bigger hobo? That's what I would like to know because I think we know the truth. Right. All right. With that, then, where can people find you on the interwebs, Paul?
Twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropub live if you want to catch stuff like discussions like this for like Captain's Table and such. If you like my lore content, then it's youtube.com/theastrohistorian.
Yeah, he's kicking me, dragging and screaming onto that later today too. So we'll be on there talking about Captain's Table. So if you see this, we should be on there shortly after. So yeah. All right, with that then, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone that went that extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. He's been Astropub.
He's been Execute.
There we go. He's learning. And we'll see you later, citizens. That wasn't awkward at all. That wave was just so robotic. Right.